it's Vicky, and today I am here to talk about my quarterly stats. So I'm going to be talking about all the books, not all the books, but all the stats and all the things significant to my April, May, and June reading. I'm going to talk about my favorite books from the quarter. We're going to talk numbers. We're going to talk goals. So let's dive in. All right, so this quarter was pretty slow, which was to be expected. I had just a lot going on in life in April, May, and June, on top of going to school. As you guys know, my mom, her health was failing and she did pass in June. So that was tough and definitely took a front seat to everything else. So I didn't read as much in this quarter as I normally do, but I did read 15 books throughout the 3 months, which is probably, like they said, the lowest I've ever had, probably ever, since I started this channel. But it's okay, you know, like I said, I had a lot going on. I read 4,474 pages though, 5 of which were print books, 2 ebooks, and 8 audiobooks. So audiobooks, once again, I think this was true of the first quarter too. Audiobooks reigned supreme for me. If it weren't for audiobooks, I would have read like nothing. So I'm so grateful for audiobooks. And then I had 1 DNF this quarter. I DNF'd Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. This one, I was reading it on my Kindle, or trying to, and I had been trying to read that book for a couple of months by the time I DNF'd it, because I really thought I was going to enjoy it because it had coming of age elements that I normally love. But that, for some reason, I wasn't connecting with the story, and I just gave up on it. In terms of my favorite reads from the quarter, I had 2 5-star reads, and both of them were in June. Go figure. They were Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds and Know My Name by Chanel Miller. So both of these books were absolutely fantastic. Know My Name is a very powerful memoir that if you really like memoirs, this definitely needs to be on your list. I listened to the audiobook and Chanel Miller narrated it as well, so also made for a great read. But know that, you know, this book deals with really heavy topics because the whole memoir is about how Chanel was sexually assaulted, and the whole memoir is about how she dealt with that. So if that sounds like something that might be tough for you, just know that. And then Long Way Down is a book told in verse. I believe this is geared towards YA readers. And Jason Reynolds is just, he's brilliant. I just love his writing. This book is, long story short, it is about the cycle of violence and how that cycle can be broken. I loved this so much. I think so far this year, this is probably my favorite book so far this year. Then if we're gonna get into my genre breakdowns, my genre breakdowns are also a little different from previous years. I had 3 different genres that were kind of tied for first place. So I read 3 historical fiction books, I read 3 nonfiction books, and I read 3 thriller mystery books. So thriller mystery tends to be a genre that I go for. I'm happy that my nonfiction was kind of up there because sometimes I forget about nonfiction and I neglect it a little bit. And then historical fiction, I thought it was interesting that I read 3 historical fictions in these months, because normally I tend to gravitate towards historical fiction in the wintertime. I don't know why. I just tend to normally read my historical fiction in the winter months. So it was interesting that I read them in the spring. And then followed by those genres, I had 2 literary books. I had 2 horror. So like 2 horror, that is low for me, but it is what it is. And then I had 1 contemporary and 1 poetry. So yeah, it was an interesting genre spread this time. All right, so now we're gonna get into my goals. I made a goal at the beginning of 2024 to read 60 books, and I'm currently at 32. So I feel like I'm right on track because it's halfway through the year and I'm halfway to my goal. So no complaints there. As far as the buzzword reading challenge goes, I'm also right on track. There were 12 prompts and I have done 6 of them. So again, right on track. Now my revisit remix, I'm slacking a little bit. So I've only read 2 of the 7. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, my Revisit Remix is a project that I am doing this year where I'm going back and looking at my TBR shelf. And of the books that I have hauled in the past 5 years, if I've had books on my shelf for 5 years, I have to read them this year. So these are all books that I hauled in 2019, and I have to read them or they gotta go at the end of the year. And like I said, there's 7 of them and I've only read 2. In this quarter, I didn't read any of them. So yeah, I'm a little behind on that. I would have liked to be more at like 3 or 4 at this time of the year. So I got some work to do there. I'm gonna have to really start to prioritize them when I'm like planning my TBRs. I really need to make sure I'm putting one of those on there to get them all done. Otherwise, they gotta go at the end of the year. And then I had this other goal to get my physical TBR all fit on my little 3-shelf little white cart that I have here in my home library. And so far that's not going that great either because the cart is pretty full. And then the bookshelf that I have the spillover of unread books is like a little more than halfway full still. So I haven't really been hauling a ton of books this year, and I actually haven't even filmed a book haul this year because I tend to be, as I'm hauling a book, I'm reading it right away, which is good. That's good. So the problem with that though is I buy those books and I read them right away, which is awesome, but I'm also neglecting the unread books that I've had on my shelves. So it seems like that number is not really declining much. And on top of it, I'm not reading as much as I normally do. So that one is tricky. We'll have to see how I do this quarter with that. But so far it's not great. I also had a goal to read a big book. I always pick a big book every year to read, and this year I chose Under the Dome by Stephen King, and I haven't read it yet because I'm trying to read his books in order, and that one just hasn't come up yet. So my guess is that's probably not even gonna get read until quarter 4, but we'll see, who knows, maybe in quarter 3, I'll be wanting to read it or whatever, it'll be calling my name. But for now, yeah, haven't read it. I also wanted to read a Kindle book a month throughout 2024, and I haven't been doing that. And the reason is I had 2 DNFs so far this year that were on my Kindle. And they were DNFs that I'd spent a lot of time trying to read. So by the time I DNF'd it and then started reading another book, I kind of fell behind on getting a Kindle book read every month. So I'm currently 2 books behind on that. So I'm tweaking the goal a little in saying that as long as I read 12 Kindle books this year, and it kind of averages out to be about 1 a month, then I think I'm still gonna consider that goal achieved. But right now, yeah, I'm slightly behind. And as of the end of June, I've only read 4 Kindle books when it should be 6. I also had a goal to read 5 Stephen King books, and I've only read 2. But I did read 1 this quarter. I read Cell, and I actually did enjoy it. So yeah, I'm planning in quarter 3 to read his new release, You Like It Darker. It's a short story collection. And then, like I said, Under the Dome is gonna be in there somewhere. And then somehow or other, I will read another one. I think my Stephen King goal, I tend to knock that out at the very end of the year. So I'm not surprised that I've only read 2, but I'm not worried about it. I think I'm still gonna be able to complete it by the end of the year. And then I also wanted to read 3 classics in 2024, and I've only read 1. And what that one is, oh, Emma. I read Emma by Jane Austen, and that's the only one I've read. So maybe a good goal would be to read 1 in quarter 3 and 1 in quarter 4, because then I will get the 3 read. But as of right now, not completed. So going into quarter 3, definitely starting to see there are some goals I'm a little behind on, and I kind of need to start working on, maybe need to start paying attention more. Some things I've noted that I want to read. I definitely want to continue my 100 epic reads project because I have totally been neglecting that in the last few months. But I will tell you that I am reading the next installment or book for that series right now. So hopefully that video will be out hopefully by the end of July. That's the goal. That's the goal. It should be out by the end of July. But yeah, I want to keep that going. I had really wanted to do that project, that vlog series every other month, and it just didn't happen. So I haven't done one since I think March was the last one that I did. So I'm a little behind on that as well. But yeah, it's still going. It's just been kind of a slow process, but I definitely want to kind of get back to prioritizing that this next quarter and even into quarter 4. I also have mentioned before my 24 and 24, and this wasn't like, I didn't make it part of my goals, and it wasn't anything that I made a big deal about, but it is a page in my planner that I did, and I want to start prioritizing those as well because the way that I numbered them, or the 24 books I picked, include my Revisit Remix books and my Stephen King books that I want to read. So if I focus on that 24 and 24, it's going to help me with the other goals too. And it's going to help me because they're all books that I physically own. So it's also going to help me clear off this cart or clear off this bookshelf and get all my unread books onto that cart by the end of the year. So I'm going to try to focus a little more on the 24 and 24. And then another thing I'm sort of looking forward to going into quarter 3 is series September, because that is a project, I guess if you could call it, that I do every year also. In looking at my shelves, I do have some series that I could continue with and that I'm kind of saving for September. So hopefully that'll happen. And hopefully that will, again, help me get rid of some of these unread books that I have in the house. All right, guys, so that is my quarter 2 recap, wrap up, whatever you want to call it. Let me know down below if you keep track of any of your stats in a quarterly fashion. And I don't know, let me know. How many books have you read in this quarter, or what was your favorite book of the quarter? Love to know that. And how are your goals going? Because I would love to know that as well. So that's it. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I will chat with you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.